All right, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around. And in addition to my hiking videos, I want to start also doing a hiking guide to where if you might feel inspired to go and do this hike now as well, I want to give you all the things you might need to know in order to go and do this yourself. Also, make sure to stick around because I have a giveaway at the end of this video that I'll announce. So this hike is one that goes through the Hoh Rainforest, which is one of the last temperate rainforests in the world. And it actually goes through the Hoh River Trail, so it parallels the Hoh River there. And it leads all the way to Blue Glacier on Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus is also known as the highest peak in the national park. Now, this is in the national park, and so drones aren't allowed to fly here, so I didn't use my drone. If you do plan to do this hike, you do need to book your campsites and get the permits at recreation.gov ahead of time. And so originally I planned to do this 38-mile hike in 2.5 days. The first day I decided to book at Elk Lake, which is about 15 miles into the trail. And then from there, I decided the next day I would actually hike at the Olympus guard station, which will leave me about 10 miles left on the next day. So that was the original plan. That did change, as I'll show you here in a little bit as we continue to discuss. This is a very lush and green area with lots of moss over trees. This actually gets 12 feet of rain a year, so it's very green. As a result, one of the conditions of the trail is the majority of the time it was very muddy. It's by far the muddiest trail I've ever gone on. And so that was something I was constantly having to deal with there. So you are in a rainforest, so it's something to be expected, is be prepared for the mud. One benefit about Elk Lake is you do not have to carry a bear canister because they do have bear hang wires you can hang your bear bags from. So I ended up staying there and I was able to save weight from my pack without having to carry a bear canister. So I got to Elk Lake later that day, probably around 5:30 or so. I set up camp, had dinner, relaxed and rest, and went to bed a little early because I planned to wake up the next day and take off towards the glacier. In the morning, I had breakfast and then I left my campsite set up, and I actually just took a day pack up to the glacier. So I started my ascent, and it is a lot steeper. Now, once you get past Elk Lake, the views just are phenomenal. It definitely makes the trip worth it. You go from exiting the rainforest to more mountainous area. You see peaks, you see snow-capped mountains, you see beautiful scenery. And so I really enjoyed, once you got past Elk Lake, I really enjoyed the difference that you have on this trail. Now, as you're on your way to Glacier Meadows, which is the last campsite before the glacier, as you're on your way, there is a washout area to be aware of, and it's pretty steep, and there is actually a rope and a ladder. Now, you want to be careful on how you go down, because you don't want to too much rely on the ladder. That's more for when you're coming up. It makes it definitely easy to come up. But one thing about that is there are some steps missing. So if you rely too much on the ladder, you'll be caught there where there's some steps missing. Hopefully that gets repaired soon. But on the way down, I didn't even use the ladder. I just kind of descended down with the rope and had my feet facing the slope, and I just kind of gradually went down that way. Now, once you get down from the ladder, probably the most iffy part is the avalanche chute there. Now, because I went in June, there was still a lot of snow there, and you had to cross over that. Now, the bottom of the trail, where you come out of the ladder, you actually have to go up 50 yards where the trail continues. And so I had to go up that avalanche chute, and I really was wishing I brought my ice axe. I had a feeling I should bring it, but the ice axe I had at the time was the Summit Evo, which is kind of overkill for things like that. In the meantime, I went and got this new one called the Camp Corsa Alpine, and so I will now take that whenever I think I might need an ice axe. I think it might be snowy, I might be getting to some peaks. I'll take the Corsa. It's better to be safe than sorry. And so I was kind of wishing I had it here. This avalanche chute was pretty steep, and there were collapsing ice bridges, so you wanted to be very careful and pick your steps wisely. But once you pass that avalanche chute, Glacier Meadows is not too far away. And so once you get to Glacier Meadows, for me in June, it was pretty snowy. There were times where there were 5-6 feet of snow. It was really hard to find the trail past Glacier Meadows. Thankfully, there were some footsteps that I was able to follow through the woods, which actually led me to the lateral moraine. Now, I wasn't able to find the terminal moraine trail from Glacier Meadows because of all the snow cover at that time. Once I popped through the trees, I actually continued to follow those tracks towards the lateral moraine. It was comforting seeing one pair of tracks, knowing that someone had done this trail before me. But as I was going, I remember looking around and noticing there was a lot of broken trees, shredded trees, and the snow was not a texture that I was really comfortable with. I actually started looking around and realized I'm standing in the middle of a fresh avalanche. So that was kind of iffy there. And I came to find out later, once I got down, that there was an avalanche there just 2 days before. Now, thankfully, it was firm enough for me to cross, and I crossed it no problem, but I did realize that was an avalanche and probably a danger. So something to avoid if you go later in July. Most of that snow will be gone. Once I passed the avalanche field area, I did continue in more snow towards the lateral moraine. And the lateral moraine, once I climbed over that and got my first view of the glacier, it was just a real sigh of relief. It was just an awe moment to see something like that there on the mountain, something that I've always admired from afar from Hurricane Ridge, but I'm getting to see it right there in person. There was a lot of snow still on the glacier, so it was hard to really make out a lot of the crevasses, but it was still a sight to behold. And seeing Mount Olympus there, and just seeing and setting a goal that next year I'm going to be on top of Mount Olympus. This really was a beautiful day that I had all to myself out on the glacier, so I really enjoyed that moment. On the way down, I did continue back towards Elk Lake, and coming down the mountain there, I did glissade a little bit down, and that was kind of nice but cold. Once I got to Elk Lake, I did pack up my camp, and I decided to head back to Olympus Guard Station. So anyways, Olympus Guard Station, I did make it there with plenty of time. It was only 4:30 by the time I made it there, and so rather than camping and spending a whole nother day, I still had plenty of energy. So I decided, let me just push on a little bit more. And I decided to go all the way to the end. So that day, day 2, I had to go 3.5 miles up to the glacier, then back to the camp, and then all the way camped out. So there's about 23 miles day 2. So I was pretty much feeling it and was pretty sore the next day. So all in all, I did the hike in 2 days. I don't really recommend that. I really pushed myself for that, but I would actually, if I were to do it again, I'd do it in at least 2.5. 3 to really enjoy the scenery, especially if I was going to summit Olympus. So hope that helped. Hope that inspired you to get out there and be better prepared. I did run into my first black bear, and you know, I was kind of beating myself up because I did have the bear spray hanging down for the most of the trip, and I was just thinking to myself, I'm never going to carry this. I never see black bears. I never see bears, period. And about 7 miles from the trailhead, the beginning, once I was on my way back, it was about 7 p.m. I did run into my first black bear, and I did take out my bear spray. He kind of got spooked and ran off, so I didn't get on camera, but I did see the black bear, and I heard some breaking branches, but it definitely got the blood flowing, that's for sure. I think I'll continue carrying the bear spray just in case. Now, believe it or not, this hike was filmed entirely on my iPhone 12 Pro and also my DJI Pocket 2. Those are pretty handy cameras. However, from this point forward, I have upgraded to the Sony a6600 with a 10x18 lens, which I'm actually filming this hiking guide on here. And so that'll be going forward. I'll be using that camera for the rest of my hikes. This style video, as you can probably tell, has been inspired by Craig Adams. I really admire his work, and I've kind of added my own little mix to it as well. So I hope you've enjoyed. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you can be made aware. Now, one thing is the announcement of the giveaway. Thank you for sticking around for that. We've hit 1,000 subscribers, and so I'm pretty thrilled. I started this channel about a year ago with the hope of continuing if I was able to hit 1,000 subscribers, and so I am. And so thank you guys for committing and being part of this community and supporting me and encouraging me along the way. I really enjoy getting out there and filming these kind of things, and so there's much more to come. Now, because we got to 1,000 subscribers, I want to do a giveaway, and I want to help us reach to the next milestone, which is 2,000. So what I'd like you to do is I'm actually going to give away this Osprey Daylight Pack, and you've probably seen it in some of my day hiking videos, and this is a pack that's really good for any day hikes. And I want to give this away to a lucky winner. And if you want to be in the drawing, basically you got to make sure to like this video. Also comment to let me know where you would take this backpack on, and then also make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Do those 3 things. I'm gonna have a drawing once we hit 2,000 subscribers, and there'll be a lucky winner who will win this. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and for all your support. And as always, thanks for watching.